What did you do to celebrate Pride this year?
I went to a couple parties.
Okay.
And then you know what else? I made dinner for some friends.
That's so, like,
lesbian?
woke. Hi, I'm Anania. This is Gaydar. Which queer person do you think should be the new editor-in-chief of Vogue?
Frankie Grande. I'm just a really big fan.
Eyeshadow shimmer palettes gone up via Vogue. I live. What is your music video holy trinity?
Madison Avenue, Don't Call Me Baby. For those of you that don't know what that is, look it up. Hit Me Baby One More Time. Janet Jackson.
Come on.
And I'm blanking on the name of the song.
So when it comes to the black woman, it's hard for you to remember the title of her artwork. Okay. Do you know what the show is called, by the way?
Gaydar.
Oh, 1 out of 2. That's enough. What was the name of Boise, Idaho's Straight Pride?
Probably Boise, Idaho Straight Pride. Is that what it was called?
That's correct. No, it was called Hetero Awesome Fest. We should have gone to Hetero Awesome Fest and done a Gaydar interview with some of the people.
Nobody went.
Not much pride in the straight community. What is a power bottom?
A power bottom
I wonder if you would know anything about this.
I've heard of it.
Oh, okay.
So I'll speak just from that experience.
Sure.
Power bottom is someone who takes the receptive position in but is, instead of being kind of submissive, they are the dominant ones.
And it's just I want to make sure I get that right.
Yeah. No. No? I don't know.
We try to be inclusive here on Gaydar.
So then it can be anything.
Do you have any examples of a power bottom? Do we have a mirror?
You know, maybe James Charles. Silence, dead silence after that.
Yeah, we're gonna bleep that out, actually.
Okay.
If I had to guess if you were gay, straight, or a homophobe, I think you and I roasting in this heat right now is a good testament of where we're going afterlife-wise. I think you're gay. Am I close?
You are right on the money.
You got a little twitch in your eye when I said power bottom, and I was like, all right.
The nonverbal stuff is how you know.
We do the oddest thing in our society, which is that when someone dies, it immediately becomes tacky to talk about anything negative from their life. Like when someone dies, it immediately shifts to, well, this person was a husband and a father, so anything he may have done in his life doesn't matter anymore. It is just sad that he is dead and now we need to mourn. And I find that so odd because what it does is it immediately forces you as a dead person into a flat 2D character, right? You lose all of your nuance and complexity and you instead just become a sort of saint who no one can ever talk about with any nuance or detail. And I think the only people who that ultimately helps are people who have committed harm and abuse, because then it makes it so that the things that they did when they were alive and the harms that they caused immediately get wiped away and misremembered simply because they're dead. And in doing that, we re-traumatize and harm all over again the people who were harmed by this person who is now dead by denying the experience and denying them any ability or recourse to talk about the harm that this person has caused, even though that person is no longer here. And I think that ultimately what this signals toward is our inability to hold two truths and two realities at the same time. Because it can both be true that someone lost a father and a husband and that is sad for that person and their family. And it can also be true that that person has created immense harm in our society, and that it's important to be able to like recognize and name how that harm it creates reverberations, right? Like both of those things are true. I think that ultimately when we stay in this place where we don't sort of reckon with the messiness of what it means to be a person, right? We're just flattening down the human experience into something palatable. And I don't know, like, why would anyone want to not be remembered for the fullness of their life?
Bitch, you look good today. Bitch, you did that. Yes, ma'am. As black women, bitch is used as a term of endearment when we deem it so, when we have given you consent. The term bitch can also shapeshift, i.e. bitch, which translates into, ooh, I got some tea for you. The monotone, bitch,
is the introduction of a new partner in our lives.
That's my bitch, which translates into, that's my ride or die. But we prefer not to die. Yes, we know we are bad bitches. Just because you buy me a drink doesn't mean my hips are a navigator for you to get through the crowd. When you had all that damn room to walk, yes, I'm a bitch with boundaries. Requesting permission shouldn't be this difficult. Why does rejection translate into aggression? Is my big clit energy too much for your ego?
My no isn't meant to be challenged.
When I said I'm a bitch with boundaries, he said I shouldn't call myself a bitch. Isn't that what privilege is? Spitting up on what a woman should be. More focused on the words he wants me to swallow, but chokes on his quiet when black women go missing. Bites his tongue when trans women are beaten to the brink of death. When bitch is met with a forceful fist, forced entry, your silence is the gun, forced bullet to the body.
After bitch, I didn't want your number in the first place.
After the bitch, you weren't that fine to begin with.
We've made enough small talk to ensure safety. He said he didn't have boundaries.
Ain't that like a red flag? Bitch, with the grip of a wrist, muzzle mouths when black women are found dead. Yet, you wanna get violent when we force you to be compliant.
As black women, we've been taught to remain on the leash.
Not whip too loud when we get hit. But don't let this home training fool you. This bitch barks back. I'm a whole damn doghouse, so get the fuck off. Ain't that like an entitled man trying to keep me trained? He said, where do you think the word woman comes from? Man, that is the stupidest shit I've ever heard.
Like this is Adam's rib.
But clearly, your father birthed a bitch, a son of a bitch, just an offspring that don't get no bitches with your bitch ass. Other women have said I should learn to be quiet,
Sit upright.
smile, don't show aggression,
Roll over, let them think they are right.
let them think their abuse didn't hurt me. Bitch, you wildin', which translates into you got me fucked up. As black women, bitch is used as a term of endearment when we deem it so. Bitch can also shapeshift. Bitch, you did good. Bitch, I see you healing. But also, bitch, do I need to pull up with these hands? Which translates into, yes, I am that bitch.
Israel just bombed the ship that Greta Thunberg is on, trying to deliver aid to Palestinians. This is not hyperbole. This is not a joke. This is not me making any sort of exaggeration. You can check the Flotilla's Instagram, as well as Greta Thunberg's, as well as literally any of the other activists that you are aware that are on the ship. But they just got bombed by Israel, and no one is talking about it. Like, I've seen 2 creators on this app talk about it, and both of their videos have like under 3,000 views or likes or whatever. This needs to be international news. Like, this needs to be international news. They are quite literally just trying to deliver food and aid to people who are forcibly, and the world agrees, the vast majority of the world agrees, are forcibly experiencing a mass starvation event and being genocided in front of our eyes on camera. And Israel just, like, they just bombed the flotilla. Luckily, everyone that's aboard is safe, but they used the drone to strike a pile of life jackets on the deck of the ship, which is really scary because it's like you just deliberately destroyed maybe the only things on that ship that could save them and their lives from a second missile. Because if you're to launch one, who is to say that you are not to launch another? Make sure y'all like, comment, share, repost this video or whatever. Make your own if you have any sort of platform. Share this to other apps or whatever so that everyone becomes aware of this happening, because this is actual insanity and like war crime after war crime after war crime after war crime after war crime. And no, we can't let ourselves get lost in the midst of it. We have to keep them held accountable. And for anyone who is wondering what they can maybe do to help any Palestinians or anything like that, the only thing that I know to do is support communities that you want to uplift financially. I'll link these keffiyeh. I'm literally wearing it right now. This is my outfit for today. This is not an ad or anything. I'm using the TikTok shop to try and get this video pushed onto your For You pages. But genuinely, if you want to help any Palestinians and you have the funds or whatever, the shop that I get my keffiyeh from are Palestinian run, Palestinian owned and founded. They were based in Jericho. They were founded in 1950, and all of the keffiyeh are 100% authentic cotton, handmade by Palestinian refugees. So every single cent that you spend will go directly into the pockets of a Palestinian refugee, the one who contributed to your keffiyeh. Besides that, keep being loud, keep making noise and sharing these stories. Again, you can't let yourselves get caught up in all the horror to the point where these people evade accountability.
I feel like I'm about to get silenced soon. I'm being dead serious. If you guys don't know me, I'm the creator of the Black Fist. This is it right here. It takes place in the 1960s, and it's during a period of time where life wasn't so easy for us melanated people, if that makes sense. You can find this in the TikTok shop though, but I'm just using this mostly for engagement. I really do feel like I am about to get silenced, just because of this type of series that I've created. Yes, this is the series where we do have the triple K. They do eventually get abilities. My character, unfortunately, has to deal with them. My character is Earth's first superhero. He just happens to be black, but he unfortunately has to deal with the injustice from, YT premises, if that makes sense. I got to be very careful with the words that I choose now, especially on this app, though, because things are just getting weird. I love what I do. I love making comic books. I have many different series. Right now, the Black Fist is the most popular series, and I'm working on getting my other series up and going again, though, so I can bring those back. But it's just crazy, though, because a lot of things that I've written within the Black Fist, no joke, it's almost like I'm predicting the future or something like that, though. I don't know what the hell is going on. Now, mind you, things happen differently within the story, though, but now I feel like this story is more important than ever. That's just the way I feel. That's how passionate I feel about this story right now, especially because of the times that we're living in. And it's absolutely, like, I don't know. Because, like, I'm just like, yo, what is going on with the world? And I'm not going to talk too much, like, what's actually going on. There's other videos for that. But I think the world needs this story. And I will do everything I can to bring this story to life and complete it. I don't care. It needs to be told. Yes, there is more than just quote-unquote racism in the story, though, but that's just because of the times and what my character has to deal with, though. But it also really corresponds to the things that we have to go through in life, especially as melanated individuals, especially because I'm also, queer as well. And people don't know that. I'm black, I'm queer, like, you know what I mean? Like, I got the double whammy. I really wish the world just has some human, decency. That's just my personal opinion. I'm here to fight, for my rights as a black man, here to fight for my rights as a queer person, here to fight for, the trans people as well, you know what I mean? Because, like, this shit's crazy. This shit's crazy, though. But you know what? Like, it is available in the shop. You know what I mean? It's a good deal. 3 issues. Like I said, mostly for engagement, but thank you guys so much. I appreciate y'all.
Nobody talks about how Japan is kind of like East Asian Israel, like OG Israel, but like they did like their ethnic cleansing so long ago, like nobody would have known about it or even given a like Japanese people, what we consider as a Japanese person today, they are not from that island. Just like common sense wise, what color is a Pacific Islander? They're like brown. Japanese people are not brown, they're pale. From what I understand, the 2 original ethnic groups native to that island were these 2 ethnic groups, the Ainu and the Ryukyuans. From what I understand, the Ryukyuans lived like the southern islands and they're like now referred to as Okinawan. I don't know if they're cool with that, I don't think they are. And the Ainu, if they're from like the top half of Japan and they're like kind of recognized but not really. Like the modern Japanese person is like a combination of 3 different groups. One group that came from like China, I think they're called like the Jomon. Another group that's from like Korea, and then another group that's like also from China but like from a different era, and that's like what they are. But yeah, they sort of just like took that island, killed them, suppressed them for like hundreds of years, and they like still don't even like recognize the atrocities against like the Ryukyu and some against the Ainu. Like they get like disrespected like crazy over them. And when you start finally viewing Japan as kind of like East Asian Israel, their behavior pre-World War II kind of starts making a lot of sense. Like, I'm sure if you're watching this and you're Chinese or Korean, you already have like a deep hatred of Japan because of what Japan did to China and because of Japan's like occupation of Korea. Just completely horrible shit that they refuse to apologize for. And a lot of Japan's atrocities don't even stop at like Asian countries. I learned that there was like a group of like, Japanese mine workers that went to like Africa, and a bunch of them were like attracted to like the Africans there. They had children, half Japanese, half black children, and then like the Japanese doctors over there was like, yo, you can't do this. This thing is like an abomination, and they killed like dozens of like African Japanese babies. They were fucking horrible pre-World War II. Like, oh my, like, I'm so glad they fucking lost. Not justifying the bombs or anything, but they were like fucking psychos back then.
One of my rich homies hit me up, and for the sake of the video, we're gonna call him Quan, like rich homie Quan, because his whole family, they are educated individuals. They get real serious fucking money. Quan texts me, he's like, look, bro, I'm throwing another party in the Hamptons. I would love for you to be there. Now, mind you, Quan is like my version of Michael Rubin. I said, bro, you know I'm at this fucking party. Don't even worry about it. He said, bet. Also, if you want to bring a few of your friends, that's cool too. You know how we get down. I said, bet. I hit up a few of my boys. I'm like, yo, who's trying to go to a house party? Two of my boys respond. I'm like, listen, it's about to be deep. We really about to have to drive to this fucking party in the Hampton. They said, actually, we kind of busy. I said, listen, there's about to be 400 people and free alcohol. They say, actually, let's fucking go to the party. It's like 8 p.m. I'll pick up my boys and we on the way to the function. Quan calls me while I'm driving. He's like, yo, bro, before you get to the crib, can you stop and get some alcohol? I'm like, yeah, bro, I got you. What do you want me to get? He said, just get some tequila, and bangs the fucking phone. 2 seconds later, I get a Cash App notification, $2,000 for alcohol. This dude sent me $2,000 to buy bottles to bring to the party. We had to go to 3 liquor stores to get enough tequila to spend the $2,000. We had so many bottles in the fucking trunk. We probably had more alcohol in the car than we had gas in the gas tank, and the gas tank was fucking full. 3-hour drive later, we make it to the spot. There's like 100 people going in and out of the crib. I call Quan. I'm like, yo, bro, I'm here. Pop out. He said, all right, bet. Hangs up the phone. It takes him 15 minutes from when I called him to when he got to the car. That's how big the fucking house, it's not even a house, it's a fucking mansion. That's how big the fucking mansion is. Wherever he was in the crib, it took him 15 minutes to come outside. But he walks outside the crib cheesing. He's smiling, bro. I dap him up, introduce him to my boys. I tell my boys, look, yo, if y'all want to just go off and do your thing, that's cool. I'm about to chop it up with Quan. They say, all right, bet. Me and Quan going back and forth, chopping it up. We laughing, whatever. Quan's like, yo, do you want to take a shot? Now, here's the problem with Quan. Quan is borderline alcoholic, bro. Honestly, he is alcoholic. Fuck it. Every 5 minutes with him is batty shot o'clock, bro. He be taking shots to the chest like fucking 50 Cent, bro. He loves drinking. So I really don't like drinking with him too much. Like going with the shot for shot shit, because he fucking does not know when to stop, and I feel like I'm feeding his addiction. But I said, fuck it. It's been a minute since I see you. Let's take some fucking shots. So we taking shots. We still chopping up, whatever. He gets so drunk, he just goes off and does his own thing. I think me and my boys was probably at the party for another like 5 fucking hours. We end up dipping. Valid day's over. Now, fast forward a week later, Quan calls me. He's like, yo, bro, I'm in the city. Let's go bowling. I said, all right, bet. He said, look, you bring some of your people. I'm going to bring some of my people. You already know how we get down. I said, all right, bet. So I hit up my boys that was at the party. I'm like, yo, who's trying to go bowling? Both of them said that they down for bowling. Cool. Then I asked, yo, who needs a ride? One of my boys is like, yeah, if you could scoop me, that'd be valid. The other boy calls me. He's like, yo, bro, is it cool if I bring a shorty? Now, mind you, here's the problem with him, right? Mind you, he only talks to older women. I have never seen him talk to a woman that's not 10 years older than he is. So I'm kind of wondering, like, maybe that might not be the vibe for the older woman that he's about to bring. But I'm like, fuck it. Anyway, we can just all just vibe and bowl. All I asked was like, yo, send me a pic. He's like, bro, no pics. Just no cougar bitch, but she look good, Tony Braxton. I'm like, all right, whatever, bro. And I hang up the fucking phone. I get ready, I throw on a fit. I go scoop my boy and we pull up to the bowling spot, right? Quan's there. He brought mad people. Like, it was deep. And he brought guys and girls. So I'm thinking, look, it's not as weird that my boy's bringing a girl, because there's other women here too. So it's cool, right? We bowling. My boy texts me. He's like, yo, bro, I'm outside. I'm like, all right, bet. Now, I cannot fathom what was about to happen next. I could not possibly in any fucking universe even understand what the fuck was about to happen next, right? I see my boy walk through the door, right? He walks through the door. And behind him is Quan's fucking mom, bro. Quan's fucking mom. Then I fucking realized what the fuck happened. I realized that Quan's mom be partying, bro. She don't give a fuck. She fucking party. She acts like she's young as shit, bro. She be shaking ass. She be popping fucking bottles. She was at the fucking house party. My boy, and like, there's so many people at the fucking house party. There's like 400 people. You can't even keep track of what the fuck was going on. My boy probably ran into her and seen that she was a little older, and he was fucking with that. So I'm like, holy shit. There's no way that he brought fucking Quan's mom to the fucking bowling alley. I run over to my boy. I'm like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, bro, what do you mean? I'm like, bro, that's Quan's mom. He's like, no way that's Quan's mom, bro. I've been cracking that for the past week. I said, bro, what the fuck are you even talking about? What are you even talking about? I look over and I see that Quan's mom is walking away because she sees that her son is in a bowling alley. Quan's like, yo, mom, what the fuck are you doing here? She looks over and she points at us. She's like, look, I'm on a date. I look at Quan. Quan's looking at my boy. Bro has murderous intent in his fucking eyes. He's like, you motherfucker. And it's funny that he said motherfucker. Like, it's funny now. It wasn't funny when he said it. Like, when he said it, I was fucking tweaking. But he said motherfucker, which is exactly what my boy did. Like, it's kind of fucked up. But the choice of words motherfucker was really funny in that fucking moment. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, what the fuck? And I don't think I've ever left up at an establishment that fucking quick. Y'all know what an Irish goodbye is? I did an Irish get the fuck up out of there, bro. I ran down that fucking staircase, put my phone on D&D, and got in the fucking car and drove the fuck home. I don't even know how my boy got, like the other boy that I brought to the spot, I don't even know how he got the fuck home. Because I mind the business that minds me, and that shit was none of my fucking business.
So in order to understand the Jimmy Kimmel situation, you need to understand how television works, particularly local television. In your hometown, you probably have an ABC station, an NBC station, a CBS station, Fox station. Now, unless you live in big cities like New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, these stations are affiliate stations. That means they're owned by a company that's not ABC, NBC, CBS, etc., but either a company that owns 2 or 3 stations or by a station group, like Sinclair Broadcasting, Tegna, Nexstar. Then there are what's called O&Os, which are owned and operated stations. For example, the ABC station in New York is owned and operated by ABC News. Same thing with ABC7 in Los Angeles, it's owned by ABC News Disney. It is rare these days that a station will be owned by a small company. That's because around 10, 15 years ago, station groups, namely Sinclair, started buying up a bunch of local stations all around the country. NBC affiliates, ABC affiliates, it didn't matter. And particularly they focused on small and mid-sized markets. Now this was a strategic move because if you own what the majority of the country, these small local news stations that people in these small towns still watch, then you get to influence what they see. And Sinclair is conservative. It's evident in their content. Now, I used to work for Sinclair back in the day after they bought the station that I was working at, and they used to have these things called must runs, which means no matter where in the country, if you're a Sinclair station, you must put these specific stories in your rundown, AKA the news of the day that you're broadcasting. And that's when late night talk shows started making fun of the fact that anchors around the country were saying verbatim the same thing.
Sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
Now, this is important because affiliates make a deal with the network that they will broadcast their programming in their market and in exchange for example, content. So like ABC News will give ABC affiliates access to their video, and affiliates will give ABC News access to their video. So it's a matter of sharing the resources. So what happened with Jimmy Kimmel is 2 of the nation's biggest broadcast groups, Nexstar and Sinclair, basically told ABC, we're not gonna show Jimmy Kimmel in our markets, and they got a bunch of markets, if you don't rectify the situation. And I should mention that right now, currently, Nexstar is trying to buy one of the other big station groups, Tegna, which owns stations in Dallas and Atlanta, which now are getting into top 10 big city markets. So you see, in a time where viewership is declining, ABC can't really afford to piss off 2 of the big broadcast groups. Now, if that deal goes through, that means Nexstar will own 265 stations in 44 states and DC, which also Sinclair has a station in DC, the ABC station. That represents 80% of US households. Right now, Nexstar owns 32 ABC stations. Now, both Nexstar and Sinclair have been trying to proposition the FCC to relax regulations on the number of stations they can buy, because if it's up to them, they would buy more. And local news is some of the cheapest programming to produce. So if a station doesn't want to buy a syndicated show, they just throw on another local news show, 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m. And when budgets are being slashed and in small towns where they just can't produce that much content, you get this much local news and then it is packed with something that comes from the headquarters. Anyways, I just wanted to add context.
See, baby, this is the part of the program I want us all to be on one band, one sound about. Like, y'all out here talking about gunner versus thugger versus what's snitching, who can snitch, civilian versus criminal, whatever. No, this is what real snitching looks like. I encourage everyone, if you have never watched the full interview of William O'Neill, who was Fred Hampton's director of security, he literally is the Judas that offered him up to the Chicago Police Department as well as the FBI and got Chairman Fred up out of here. This was a part of, I believe, an 11-part docuseries called Eye on the Prize 2. It's like an iconic documentary. And currently is being archived within WashU's Film and Media School. I also found it on Reddit. The shame, there's whatever is the step past shame, right? He couldn't even look into the camera Like, he could not live with himself. Clearly, that is what snitching does. Because this man destroyed, if not the most singular, it would have been one of the most singularly revolutionary acts of Black self-determination within this country for African Americans. And what was his 30 pieces of silver? A gas station. And see, that's the thing about when you not only betray your soul and your ancestors, but your community. He could not live with it. And one good day, he walked out onto Eisenhower Expressway and met his ancestors. And now he can have a conversation with them about why he did what he did. We out here talking about record labels and doing crime, and this is what snitching, and that's a separate code. But there is a level of snitching that is way deeper than just, oh, folks in the Mo's ain't fucking with each other, or you from North, I'm from West, or man, you can't be in this hood. Who sent you over here? Why your hat cocked? Like, no, baby. This is real snitching. Also, I'm not one to support watching traumatic things just for the sake of watching it. For me, even though he's dressed nicely, you know, he looks amazing, right? Watching him is always very heavy for me because you can just feel the shame, the depression. The light is out of his eyes. Okay. So I don't encourage anyone to just like, oh, watch it for like just random viewing pleasure. But for anyone who ever does watch it, there are so many lessons to learn in just understanding his mindset, the programming, the lies that we tell ourselves to live with ourselves, and sometimes the decisions that we make. It's a heavy, heavy piece of film, but it is such an impactful piece of film. So yeah, that's my nerdy, suggestion of the day. If you've never watched this interview in full, stop what you're doing and go watch it, because it's very impactful for us as Black people.
Do you want an example of how absolutely bitch made the U.S. is? Yesterday, the rogue, apartheid, racist state of Israel, currently committing a genocide in Palestine, bombed the Global Samud flotilla with 11 U.S. veterans on board, okay? This isn't the USS Liberty that we're dealing with right now. This is yesterday. Our ally bombed the flotilla, which is carrying nothing but baby formula, humanitarian aid, completely unarmed, people with selfie cameras, you know what I'm saying? They bombed the Global Samud flotilla with 11 U.S. veterans on board. Our ally. And we ain't doing nothing. The U.S. ain't doing shit. It barely reported on it. Barely reported on it. But you know what? Spain and Italy, who have citizens on board the Global Samud flotilla, have immediately responded to the act of aggression from the rogue apartheid state of Israel and have deployed naval warships to assist the Global Samud flotilla in its mission of bringing humanitarian aid to the besieged population, illegally besieged and starved population of Palestine, the indigenous Palestinians of Palestine, whom the settler squatters from Hoboken and Bushwick, who are trying to make Palestine their new homeland, you know what I'm saying? They are illegally breaking every international humanitarian law to withhold from these people this humanitarian aid, this baby formula. They specifically target and destroy baby formula because they are overtly committing a genocide. They have a stated intent of starving this population to death, eradicating these human animals, and removing from them the conditions to be able to perpetuate their people into the future. Conditions of genocide, to starve the children, to create an epidemic of miscarriages among the mothers, to target the mothers and call it 2 for 1. This is what the U.S. is doing nothing to stop. It is providing cover, aid, funding, bombs, whatever that state needs. Our colonial outpost in the Middle East needs to perpetuate this horrific genocide. And it just bombed 11 U.S. veterans. I haven't heard shit from Fox News. Fox News real quiet. Iraq didn't bomb 11 US veterans just now. Burkina Faso didn't bomb 11 US veterans just now. Israel did. That's how bitch made we are. AIPAC owns our entire governance. All of our politicians, almost all across the aisle, bought out. Democrat, Republican, bought out by AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, which is a foreign agency influencing United States sovereign politics to the benefit of the interests of this foreign country. And there are several citizens in this country who have a dual allegiance, and actually a primary allegiance to this rogue apartheid state committing genocide than to us. They're taking our tax money to do that. They're taking our tax money to bomb them kids. And they can't use our tax money to protect the vets that the United States of Israel, that Israel just bombed. Listen, I'm not trying to crash out or nothing. I'm not trying to crash out. I'm not trying to make you crash out. I'm not trying to make nobody do nothing. I'm just here to convey the facts. I'm just a messenger. The U.S. is sitting on its hands, bitch made, in front of the world again to Israel, as Israel just bombed 11 U.S. veterans. That's fucked up of you, Donald Trump, to not support the troops.
There is currently an Ebola outbreak in Congo. Please stay tuned for the details. So I've been able to confirm this with my friend Mr. Ovis Katoto. He's a Congolese journalist. For those of you who have heard me speak about him, he's on the ground in Congo to take care of his people who are experiencing displacement. I'm just going to quickly read some key details from an article posted by Stat10 a few days ago. I'm going to include the link in the comments for anybody who wants to read it in full. On August 20 in Bulape, a small town in the Democratic Republic of Congo's Kasai province, a 34-year-old woman was admitted to the local hospital with sudden fever, bloody vomiting, and profound weakness. Despite supportive care, her condition rapidly deteriorated, and 5 days later, she died. Her death wasn't just a personal tragedy. Laboratory tests confirmed she had Ebola. By the time the government declared the Ebola outbreak on September 4, there were already 28 suspected or confirmed cases and 15 deaths, more than 50% fatal, including 4 healthcare workers. By September 6, 42 suspected cases had been reported, including 5 confirmed and 15 fatalities, for a death rate of 38%. At the same time, containment efforts have been hindered by weak surveillance. Of 157 identified contacts, only 19% are being monitored, raising serious concerns about the potential for further spread. As of right now, I do not know how you can support this particular issue, but what I do know is that you can support populations that are extremely vulnerable and, if affected, will not be paid attention to by the government. What you can do is head over to Mr. Katoto's page and see how you can donate to displaced populations in Congo. If you have watched this video up until this point, thank you very much. Please comment all safe hands on deck in the comments, or comment how much you have donated to his campaign. And if you would like to support my organization's work in providing food, access to education, shelter, and many more basic amenities across countries like Nigeria and America, please go to the link in my link tree and make a donation. All safe hands on deck.
Charlie Kirk was shot dead today. Let's take a look at the legacy that he will leave behind. So how about we start with his campaign to dismantle the legacy of the civil rights movement. In a December 2023 speech, Charlie Kirk didn't just critique Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he launched a full-scale character assassination, labeling him as awful and not a good person, claiming he's only admired for saying things he didn't actually believe. Now, he went even further. Kirk called the landmark Civil Rights Act of 1964 a huge mistake and argued that it created a permanent DEI type of bureaucracy. Now, he pushed the radical theory as well that the act, in his words, superseded the U.S. Constitution. And then when he was challenged, he doubled down, calling MLK a mythological anti-racist creation, and then bragged about targeting the sacred cow of modern America. On abortion, he publicly celebrated the overturning of Roe v. Wade. And here's what he said when he was asked if he would force his own 10-year-old daughter to carry a pregnancy to term after she was assaulted.
And she was 10 and she got raped. And she was going to give birth and she would, and she was going to give birth and she was going to live. Would you want her to go through that and carry her baby?
That's awfully graphic.
But it's a real life scenario that happens to many people.
The answer is yes, the baby would be delivered.
Now, on gun violence, he consistently downplayed America's gun violence epidemic.
I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year, so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights.
On Race in Black America, Charlie Kirk supported a ban on DEI, overturning the Civil Rights Act and promoting a whitewash version of history. He supported banning AP African American Studies and even said that when it comes to slavery, there's a lot more to the story. And when it comes to Black professionals, on pilots, he stated, if I see a Black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. He also blamed Black people for the air traffic controller crisis. He frequently disparages Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson as a diversity hire and insisted that she was only appointed because she's a Black woman. He denies that systemic racism even exists and supports punitive sentencing and then referred to George Floyd as a scumbag. He even led the efforts to pardon Derek Chauvin, the police officer that was convicted of his murder. Now, on women and misogyny, he's no better. His misogyny covers us all. He went on a bizarre rant directed at Taylor Swift, instructing her to submit to her husband, and he also claimed that men don't want to date women in their 30s because we're not at our prime. On LGBTQ plus rights, Charlie Kirk has labeled the LGBTQ plus community a cult. He even cited a Bible verse that calls for gay people to be put to death as God's perfect law. He advocates for a nationwide ban on gender-affirming care and calls the transgender identity a lie that hurts people and abuses kids. On democracy and January 6th, his group, Turning Point USA, was deeply involved in efforts to try and overturn the 2020 election. He bragged about sending 80 buses to Washington, D.C. on January 6th for people to fight for Donald Trump. And then when he was subpoenaed by the House committee investigating the insurrection, he pled the fifth. On Palestine, he denies the very existence of the Palestinian people and their homeland and says outright that Palestinians in Palestine just doesn't exist.
I don't think the place exists.
What?
Because it doesn't. It's called Judea and Samaria. It's not called Palestine.
You don't believe that Palestine have the right to exist?
No, everyone has a right to exist. Show me where it is. It's a non-existent place.
He has routinely championed what Israel's doing in Gaza, a genocide. He's championed it, and he's a friend to Israel. Also rallied against COVID-19 and public health measures to stop the spread of the virus, spread dangerous vaccine information. His organization also said something blatantly false about Jamie Foxx and said that he was paralyzed and blind from a COVID vaccination. On student loan forgiveness, he opposed student loan forgiveness despite his own group, Turning Point USA, taking $350,000 in COVID relief PPP loans that were later forgiven. Charlie was the founder of Turning Point USA. Their tactics include a professor watch list that is designed to intimidate and harass academics, a school board watch list targeting officials who support public health measures or the teaching of accurate history. He also meddles in student government elections to defund progressive groups. On Trump and Christian nationalism, he played a huge role in getting Trump elected. He organized voter drives and events, and he's often credited for delivering the youth vote for Trump. He invokes the Seven Mountains Mandate, a call for conservative Christians to seize control of all aspects of society. He says Donald Trump is a crucial figure in restoring this so-called Christian morality and has even called for a full military occupation of American cities after the DC occupation to restore order. So knowing all of that, how do you think Charlie Kirk will be remembered?
Can queer people be gentrifiers?
Yes, Crown Heights.
Especially in New York City.
Anything's possible.
Anything's possible. You can be anything. Anyone. Hi, I'm Ananaya. This is Gaydar. Which pop star has a photo of her punani as an insert for her vinyl release? For their vinyl release, I should say.
Oh.
No, it's her.
Lord.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. As soon as Lord drops the E, which in other languages means feminine.
Sure.
Yeah. Who was the first Nigerian artist to release an openly gay album?
Tenny the Entertainer.
No, actually. Temi of Wasa.
They're gonna take my Nigerian
Yeah,
card.
yes, they are.
Redacted.
What is Donme and why are people being arrested for it?
What is Donme?
We'll start there.
Sounds like dance if you replace the C with an M, which was famously illegal in the hit film Footloose.
Okay.
So imagine a world called Footloose where Donme is...
You're kind of the queen of yes and I'm standing right next to you. That's crazy. Donme is boys love fiction. It's Chinese boys love. Because in Japanese, I think it's yaoi. I know it's yaoi.
No, I know
Yeah,
it's
I
yaoi.
know. They're getting arrested for making dame.
That isn't in another universe, the Footloose.
Can you name 3 trans-specific spaces or parties in New York City?
No, I don't know.
Because you hate trans people?
No,
I
love it. I know trans spaces. Any place that does comedy.
You better whack us. Which of these comedians are straight, bi, and gay? Jay Jordan, Sarah Sherman, and Margaret Cho.
Margaret Cho, gay. Jay Jordan, bi.
Yes.
Sarah Sherman, straight.
Yes! Yes, you ate that. Jay threw me for a loop because he gives gay guy whatever floats his bisexual boat. And there's probably a lot. Okay, if I had to guess if you were gay, straight, or a homophobe, I'm gonna say you're straight, but I kind of want to hang out with you. Like, it's not a problem. Am I close?
Well, it's pending.
It's pending.
You heard it here first.
More to find out.
More on that at 9.
Gaydar, 8/7 Central.
That Italian reporter really asked, now that Me Too and Black Lives Matter have fallen out of fashion, what do you think the film industry has lost in pursuit of political correctness? I mean, lady, what? What a question to ask Iowa Debris, Andrew Garfield, and Julia Roberts. Like, way to ask the wrong people. You have Andrew Garfield, who, like, I don't stand white men, but I've stand Andrew Garfield for a very, very long time. I think he's a very nice man. He seems like a very cool, in touch with his feelings, in touch with the moment kind of guy. Julia Roberts, who literally close family friends with the Kings, like Martin Luther King Kings. And then Iowa Debris, a black woman working in Hollywood right now, who has worked in Hollywood for a good amount of years now. And to ask the question, completely exclude Io, completely excluding the person in the room who is at the intersection of blackness and womanhood. Hello? Andrew Garfield turning his hope. And when I say turning, I mean he turned that bitch and looked both of them in the eyes and was like, blink twice if we run. Julia Roberts summoning like 30 years of media training and just like being a Hollywood starlet to not curse that lady out and to instead be like, could you take your sunglasses off and ask again? Because I don't really understand who you were addressing, which is A-list 30-year actress speak for, what the fuck did you just say? Like, what? And then Io answering anyway. Just be like, well, you didn't ask me, but I'm gonna do it. And both Julia and Andrew being like, absolutely, you have the floor. And then her giving her answer and then being like, agreed. Next question. I mean, the Italians are never beating those allegations. They are, not ever. Not ever.
Charlie Kirk's form of Christianity is a form of white supremacy by which I have a theory that in America, there are two types of main Christianity. One worships Jesus, the other worships white supremacy. And the reason why I can back this up is because I did my undergraduate thesis on the color of Jesus back when I was in the Bible Belt of northern Florida, which I had no idea what kind of racial dynamics and politics I was getting into at the time, but this will absolutely be a lecture. So if you want to buckle in and sit down for this, this is actually kind of interesting. My first point, though, I do want to make is that the KKK, and I'm talking about the revival of the KKK, like post D.W. Griffith's Birth of a Nation, created this revival of the KKK. And why I bring this up that is so important and necessary is because the KKK identified as Christians. And not just Christians, but they had three basic enemies, or like in their basic like manifesto. Number one, obviously, not surprisingly, black people. Number two, Jewish people. The third, though, were Catholics. And the reason for Catholics, when I was diving further into like the reasoning about why it was Catholics, was because they identified Catholics as like too European. Like they were too affiliated with like Europeanness. And in this branch of white supremacy that the KKK has kind of manifested, which is a predominant ideology that obviously is found in the United States, is that being too European is not white enough, because whiteness is a separation, right? We even understand that in the history of like supremacist, fascist ideologies, right? When they were stripping buildings of like ornate color and creating these like, communist fascist buildings of the simplicity, they were essentially trying to separate Europe and create this kind of conformity. So this stripping down is this form of supremacy culture that we know that has happened in Europe, that we can also see in the United States. But taking a step further, when we talk about the color of Christ, okay? When I was reading, there was number one, the book was called Color of Christ. The second book I read was American Jesus. Both of these books were really supplemental to my research. And one of the really important things they were saying was that the American immigrants, the immigrants coming into America, who were becoming the first Americans, were in fact Protestants, and not just Protestants, but the specific brand of iconoclasts. Iconoclasts were essentially this wave of Protestantism that kind of came after like the Catholics, where they kind of started to see images of Jesus and other religious figures as idolatry. And so what they started doing was they started dismantling and destroying them. If you actually see, like, there's a lot of history, I think, in Germany where you actually can see this form of iconoclasm where, like, these busts were destroyed, right? We know that it was, what was his name? Saint John of Damascus, I believe, who argued that the images of Jesus were not in fact idol worship because they were representations of what we were worshiping. We weren't worshiping the idols themselves. I believe it was John of Damascus. I have to double check on that. But when we look at these other forms of images of Jesus, right, there were essentially no images of Jesus under these Protestant circles that were manifesting in America. And I know people can say, well, you know, what about the Catholics that were like on Spanish territory? Well, Spanish territory was not America yet. And that is also really important to me. But then, so Joseph Smith in the mid 1800s, right? This is the first idea of perhaps like images of Jesus that we might actually come to know, by which he claimed to have seen a white pillar of light. And a few years later, changed the statement to say, actually, I saw Jesus, he was blonde hair and blue eyed. And this did in fact result in Mormon Christian groups creating images of Jesus that were in fact blonde hair, blue eyed. And there was in fact an attempt in the United States to separate and segregate Jesus from his Middle Eastern or even European heritage. And it was very interesting because these images became extremely political. You know, indigenous people and black enslaved people were absolutely shocked when they were like, wait, this is the Jesus we were worshiping the whole time, question mark, question mark. But we also did notice really interesting, like, weird manifestations of this image of like white Jesus, by which in the time of Jewish refugees trying to flee and enter into America, there was actually really big movements of Americans who were trying to be like, well, Jesus wasn't Jewish, he was blonde hair, blue eyed, therefore we don't need to help these Jewish people who are trying to escape the, you know, the Nazi fascist regimes. So it is really interesting to look at from this particular lens, because when you look at people like Charlie Kirk and the values that they worship and how far they have absolutely separated from the actual teachings of Jesus, right? But still claim to worship Jesus. They don't worship Jesus, they worship America. And America, for them, is a symbol of the whiteness, of the separation of all these other influences to create what they know today. Wow, I did not even realize I like didn't even stutter very much on this. But yeah, it's crazy, honestly.
The first time I realized the American government uses propaganda to create a false narrative to manipulate the American people is when I was a 19-year-old infantry marine in Iraq, and my company was attacked by an IED on the way home from a mission. And I dislocated my shoulder, so I had to go to get x-rays at Camp Fallujah. And while I was at Camp Fallujah, I got to use one of the satellite phones, and I called my mom. And I told her, hey, I just got blown up in an IED, and I dislocated my shoulder. I'm at Camp Fallujah. And she said, what are you talking about? I'm watching Fox News and CNN and MSNBC right now, and they all say Camp Fallujah closed. And this was the year 2008, when everybody, especially George Bush, wanted to make people believe that we were winning the war in Iraq. But if you didn't know this, we were not winning the war in Iraq. And so they told everybody that they were closing Camp Fallujah, one of the largest military bases in Iraq, to say that we were winning the war. When in reality, I was at Camp Fallujah getting x-rays for the injury that I sustained in combat. And they just kind of moved the Marine base to Camp Ioria, which is like just 2 miles down the road. So they never actually closed Camp Fallujah, but they made this big fuss in the media to say they closed Camp Fallujah and that we are winning the war in Iraq. And I was on the phone with my mom and said, I'm getting x-rays because I dislocated my shoulder. We're not winning this war. And that was the first time that I realized the American media would just lie in order to create a false narrative that the American government gives them so that the people believe things are okay. We were not winning the war in Iraq. And that just made me realize that the media is going to lie to you. You have to interrogate your own sources. You have to go see it to believe it. It's why I went to Ukraine. It's why I went to Syria. It's why I've been to Israel. It's why I go to these countries to go see these things for myself. That's how it works. You're supposed to interrogate your sources. You're supposed to do your own research. You're supposed to be critical and not just believe the things that people tell you.
In case you haven't heard, Benjamin Netanyahu dropped a bunch of flyers from the sky as if it were World War II, telling the remaining 1 million or so people in Gaza City to evacuate or die. Pretty much evacuate or die. That has been the entire game plan that he's been going with. That has been what he's been telling these people for months, years, if not decades. But it's only ever been part of the city. It's never been the entire thing, like the whole shebang. He's telling them to get the hell out of the city or die. A couple weeks ago, I made a video talking about the similarities between the Great Irish Famine and the effects of that famine on the descendants of survivors, and the genocide and famine that's currently going on in Gaza and the effects that that will have on the survivors of this. And last night I made 2 videos talking about how Israel just bombed the flotilla ship that Greta Thunberg, amongst over 300 other activists, were on, that was docked in Tunisia, international waters, and was headed towards Palestine to deliver food and aid. And not only did both of those videos get demonetized, obviously, but they also took away the links that I added for you, the person on the other side of the screen, to directly go and support Palestinian refugees with your dollar by shopping from Palestinian businesses run by those same refugees. I don't give a fuck, TikTok. I'm still going to do the exact same thing. I don't care about the changes in the community guidelines or whatever, because apparently, we can't openly say that we don't like watching babies get bombed or hospitals get bombed or aid workers get bombed or anything like that, without some sort of retaliation or without being anti-Semitic or whatever. I don't give a fuck. I'm still going to promote these same Palestinian businesses that I know to do, because the only way that you as an individual are going to be able to make any sort of effective change or to directly be able to aid anyone right now, unless you were planning on a John Wilkes Booth, a modern John Wilkes Booth move, is through your dollar, is supporting those communities financially. So I found this cute little pin from the same exact shop that I always get my things from. Again, there's a bunch of different businesses and whatever that are also owned by Palestinian refugees, but I think this little leprechaun pin here with the leprechaun wearing the keffiyeh and obviously, the middle finger, is cute as hell. It's going to be right here on my bag, on my strap, as soon as I finish recording this video. So if you can't be outspoken with your solidarity at school, at work, in public, online, or whatever, you can at the very least spend the 10 or whatever dollars it is to get one of these. And now you have a pin and a refugee has a couple more dollars in their pocket.
Can gay men do missionary?
Yeah. What do you mean?
I've never seen it.
I've seen it. One of my fave videos.
You're just like me. Hi, I'm Ananaya. This is Gaydar. What was the first state to completely rescind non-discrimination protections for trans people?
New York.
So, no.
Why would you ask me this?
Sorry that I want my stars woke.
I'm sorry to all my trans brothers and sisters.
And siblings.
And siblings.
It's Iowa. So proud to be from Iowa all the
I
time.
knew it was going to be in Iowa, a Texas.
Wait a minute, because we voted for Obama. What is a stud name?
A stud name is a nickname for black lesbians.
Can you give me a couple examples?
Big, insert, whatever you want the name to be.
We call her Big D, but her name is DeAndrea. Or
Exactly
something.
that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Marry, kill, love bombing, ghosting, and home wrecking.
And home wrecking can turn into like a happy thing, so maybe marry that.
Okay.
If you wreck the home, maybe you should stay with that for the rest of your life.
Queer Ultimatum Season 2. I'm killing, love bombing, ghosting, and marrying home wrecking. Because first of all, some of the best I've ever had, they ghosted me right after. That's what God is, hey? He comes in, it comes in, it says, here's this experience. I want you to learn something from it. And they take it away. What did you glean in that glorious 3 minutes? What are your weirdly specific dating green flags?
Consent.
Yeah.
One thing I'm gonna do is I might kill the mood because I'm gonna ask.
Turn the music off. Blow out the candle. Turn the lights on.
Or I'm like, are you sure? And it gets not horny because I'm a Virgo, so I gotta be very, stop the horn, let's be very serious here.
Stop the horn?
Yeah.
Did you just come up with that?
I did.
Who's in your dream queer blunt rotation?
You.
Oh.
So that's one.
The rest of the queer community.
That's crazy. You said that.
They keep booking me, boo.
I want Jesus there.
Before or after the crucifixion?
Before. I feel like he was lit.
I gotta get after. The tea is gonna be messy.
Oh,
It's
got
gonna be
you.
messy.
Okay, so dream brunch rotation. Jesus AD, Jesus BC, and you.
We just have 4 black people at a brunch table. Because Jesus was black. Gay, straight, or homophobe. Okay, process of elimination. And I've seen your work. I'm gonna lock in homophobic. Period.
We need to talk about what's going on in Sudan. What's happening there should haunt every single one of us. I know it's hard to watch these videos and to hear all of these atrocities, but it's so important to stay aware of what is going on in the world so that we aren't being complacent. I tend to get very emotional when I talk about these topics, almost always crying, because it genuinely does hurt my heart seeing how these people are being tortured. People are being burned alive in Sudan. Raping women in front of their husbands, in front of their children, killing the husbands, and then proceeding to rape a woman. 15 million people are displaced. They've been going through a famine. They're shooting children in the streets, wiping out entire generations of families. This isn't just a civil war, this is quite literally flat out another genocide that is occurring in our world. And it's happening right now. Bodies are being dumped in mass graves, hospitals are being bombed, entire villages are being turned to ash, and guess who's funding it? The United Arab Emirates. Yeah, the same UAE that has Dubai, where people and influencers go to party and get on yachts and live this luxury lifestyle, and you see them with all of this expensive stuff. Yeah, that UAE. They're profiting off of torture, rape, and war crimes in Sudan, and it needs to be talked about so much more than it is because not many people know. A lot of people are aware of what's going on in Sudan, but not many people know who is funding it and who is profiting off of the suffering of people. RSF, which is responsible for all of these horrific actions going on in Sudan, is directly backed and funded by the UAE. Not just with money, but with drones, with airstrikes, with logistics, literally plans, just like the US is with Israel. If you're sitting there asking yourself why, it's because they don't have any of their own resources, like most of the Western world. They benefit off of the resources of Africa and African countries. They want Sudan's gold. Sudan is rich in gold, and I mean extremely abundant in it, as most African countries are abundant in some sort of resource. RSF is letting the UAE illegally mine it so that they can get funded in return. It's quite literally blood money, and it is disgusting to see. Gold gets shipped through Dubai, gets polished, melted, branded, you know what, and then guess where it ends up? On our wrists, on our ears, necklaces, all of the gold that we are wearing could potentially be from the Sudanese genocide. Our electronics are directly from the Congo genocide. The stuff we use day to day is directly from the torture of African bodies, and that is why you need to care. It is so damn important, because without the suffering of these people, you wouldn't live the life you live today. Not only is that despicable, you should be loud about it. You should be yelling, because there is no reason you should have resources that the African people don't have themselves, but they're being abused for it. While the Sudanese people are being murdered, governments are making thousands, millions, trillions of dollars. Corporations are just getting richer, and people are just scrolling on their phones like nothing's happening. It is very important that you're aware of what is going on. And this isn't new. European forces would install rubber quotas, so children, families had to mine for impossible quotas to meet for rubber, and if they did not meet those requirements, their hands would be chopped off. I mean, look at this picture. This is horrific. Babies, children had their hands chopped off so that colonizers could profit. Do you know what it's like to never be safe in your own skin from birth? To be black, to be African, to be Muslim, to be indigenous, to be marginalized. Our tax dollars are helping fund this. You might not be able to stop it, but you damn sure do have a voice. So use it, because Sudan deserves more. Tigray deserves more. The Amhara people deserve more. Congo deserves more. Gaza deserves more. Our Hispanic community in the United States deserves more. Talk about it. Donate if you can. Demand our government stops funding these. And even if it doesn't make a change, at least you know you're doing something. I'm not going to apologize for crying on here. I'm not going to apologize for being so upset about the different genocides that are going on in the community and talking about it and being loud about it. And if you don't like that, get off my page. Do not go in my comments and start leaving nasty hate comments and yada 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 because you don't like the fact that I'm emotional about something that upsets me. You are typing hate from your couch while there are actual people on the ground doing this work. As a United Nations volunteer, it's extremely disrespectful for people to come on my page and say you're not doing enough when I'm informing millions of people as well as volunteering all for free. This is my job. I'm a journalist. I do a lot of activism work. I do service. I'm doing my master's right now, which I'm probably going to get kicked out of the program because I can't afford tuition. And I will start my PhD as soon as I finish my master's. And I can barely afford rent because I chose to do this work, the things that matter, service, justice, and activism, over doing some 9 to 5. Does that mean some nights I don't eat? Yes, but I will never know what it's like to be a 6-year-old in Sudan or in Gaza who's gone 5 days without food or water at all, who's standing in a humanitarian aid line being shot at. And that is heart-wrenching to me, and I'm not going to apologize for crying about it. I have thousands of dollars I have to pay for tuition, for getting my stuff to Spain to do this work, to get trained for a lot of my volunteer work, to do my interviews for exonerees, to fly to prisons, to do work there. You do not know what someone is going through, and I'm not about to take my phone and take my camera into my justice work and use it as a photo op. I don't agree with that. I've said that multiple times on my page, and if you do that, that's totally on you. That's totally fine. It's not part of my morals. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to build a platform off of literally photographing people suffering. That is not who I am.
Listen, bro, I'm starting to talk about this now so that next July, when we're 3 months out, I won't be hearing, you should have started talking about this earlier. Fine. How was I supposed to know? So much is going on, bitch. I know. I don't want to hear that shit, so I'm starting now. I hope you people are realizing how make or break / pivotal next year is going to be. Next year is 2026. Congressional elections are going to be held November 3rd. That means bitches are going to start campaigning like wildfire starting probably February. And please, I swear to fuck, as all these people are campaigning, be listening to what they're saying. Like, if a current politician aligns with some shit that you're against, you realize you can fire them, right? You can primary them. Vote a bitch out. Someone has a sketchy stance on Gaza? Vote that bitch out. Someone's a little fucked up and sketchy on AI regulation? Vote that bitch out. Someone is a little too lax on climate issues? Vote them out. Now y'all have me here beating Balenciaga. Shit is democratic, meaning that we, the constituency of America, have voting power. Anyone who's telling you, oh my god, it doesn't work, they're probably speaking from pain and discouragement, which I understand. However, brother, you see them trying to do gerrymandering in Texas right now. Why do you think Hot Wheels Greg is busy ordering agents of the FBI to chase Congress people around because Congress people don't want to vote for gerrymandering in Texas? They are trying to redistrict ahead of voting in 2026 because voting works. And actually, let me be dead ass because I'm starting to lose my shit. Majority of elections throughout my life, climate is always an afterthought. And you all keep playing around. Keep not taking this climate thing seriously. Politicians, constituents. It's when rats overtake your neighborhood HOA and Colorado becomes a coastal state is when you'll finally start taking climate seriously. And by then, we're already 2 steps from fucking hell. Trump is currently proposing $1 billion in funding cuts for disaster relief funding. So this isn't the time to be messing around with the environment and thinking that climate is an afterthought. Y'all bitches need to start caring. We live here and you don't know how fucking bad it's getting. Remember Hurricane Milton and Helene? Yes, a bunch of the people who got fucked up from that also got fucked because disaster relief funding was cut and now they're fighting with insurance companies shit out of luck. So democratically, all of this has real life consequences that real life people are actually experiencing. So I'm telling you, start listening to these politicians. Democratically, we can shape our own country and it's going to take time. It's not going to be instant. So don't get discouraged and be, oh my god, I'm not going to vote. Let me find out any of you are protest voting again. And that's a complicated issue that we can talk about at some point. But this time, 2026 coming, don't try it. You see where this country is going. Do you want to fuck with it? Again, I'm starting to say this 13 months out so that next year nobody says, Shay, oh my god, well, I didn't know. You know, for all of our sake and for the sake of this worn-in Balenciaga, I know it's overwhelming, I know it's draining, but try to stay a little informed because your level of information could dictate your level of democratic participation. And next year, 2026 is not the year to be caught slipping because I'm not being dramatic when I say this. 2026 could actually be a make or break year. So be dead ass and start democratically preparing yourself now. Now I'm heated up. God.
Start over, goddammit. It's my fault. I forgot the words and not so fast or something. Earlier this morning, as I open up my eyes,
Hi, my name is Aaron Baker. I'm a high school social studies teacher in Oklahoma, and this is one of two God Bless the USA Bibles that was sent to me by State Superintendent Ryan Walters. And after months of claiming that one of these Bibles was going to be in every Oklahoma classroom, two finally arrived at my school with my name on it, specifically because I teach AP U.S. Government and Politics. Now, I don't want to talk today about the issue of Bibles in classrooms. If you want to see a catalog of my world religions library in my classroom, you can see a previous video about that. I want to talk about this Bible in particular. When I first received this Bible, the first thing that struck me was that it was very generic, leather-bound, King James version of the Bible, just like I grew up with, probably owned a dozen or more in my lifetime. It's not a study Bible. There's no in-text commentary. There's nothing unique about the version in and of itself. The only thing that is quote-unquote special about this Bible is that in the back, when I was a kid, where the maps used to be, is where we find a letter from Lee Greenwood, followed by the Declaration of Independence, followed by the Constitution of the United States, the Bill of Rights, the Pledge of Allegiance, and then a place for notes. As I was looking through, I came across the Constitution, and since I teach government, I was interested in the presentation. As I mentioned, the Bill of Rights is listed here as well, although the Bill of Rights are part of the Constitution. And then if the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution are mentioned, and then that is directly followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, something became apparent to me. One could say that parts of the Constitution are missing, particularly amendments 11 through 27. But you could also make the argument that this is the wrong Constitution, in fact. The Constitution in this Bible contains what's called the Three-Fifths Compromise, which was summarily removed by the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, which abolished slavery in the United States. The 14th Amendment is also missing from this Constitution, and that is where we get the due process of law. This is not an accident. This is an incomplete, at best, Constitution that's in this Bible, and it's a dishonest Constitution, and it's not the Constitution that I teach in my classroom. I believe that this firmly indicates that we are exiting a stage of MAGA revisionist history where the message is that slavery was not that bad, and we are firmly entering into one of the final stages of MAGA revisionist history, and that is that slavery never existed. And that's what appears to happen in this Constitution, in this Bible, because the original articles of the Constitution does not use the word slavery. The 13th Amendment has a direct reference, and if you are trying to rewrite history, leaving those amendments out will help make that point. This is very concerning, and I wanted to raise the alarm on the fact that this kind of blatant revisionist history is being pushed into our schools in Oklahoma, and it needs to stop.
There's a recent boom in the Incredibles community with the lore, and it seems like most people are finding out that this entire universe is incredible, pun intended. Not just incredible, terrifying. It's actually very scary to be in this universe. If you don't know what I'm talking about, most people are finally listening to the secret files, the audio files of other superheroes. Some of these heroes are terrifying. You wanna know why? Because they're just humans. They're just regular people with powers. Regular people, some of them are kind of scary. Most people are talking about Gamma Jack, and they're comparing him to Homelander. And that's the whole point. Pixar had this entire universe made, and if they were not stuck under Disney, we would have had multiple movies about this entire universe. Shows, maybe. I shit you not. Listen to these audio clips. It feels so real because it seems like they're so casual about things like killing people. They're so casual about it. They explain how they misuse their powers. So casually. Just like The Boys, just like Invincible. It's terrifying. Some of them even talk about how their powers aren't actually useful in some instances. Like Gazer Beam. If he focuses on an object or something for way too long, it bursts into flames. And he explains it all in his audio files. That's terrifying. And it's not like Cyclops' laser beam, where he can control it in some way. If he looks at something for way too long, it bursts into flames, even people.
A dark-skinned black woman was handed a bouquet of bananas, a Nike basketball, a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken, and cotton in the shape of roses. It comes of no surprise that it is a white man, of course, to be expected. Fortunately, a handful of black women and white man relationships are like this, and you cannot convince me otherwise. Black men and white women relationships are just like this, if not 3 times worse. When it comes to black women and white men relationships, they are separated in 3 categories. 1. Black women and white men actually have a healthy, non-racist relationship. They potentially live happily ever after. That's the first one. And unfortunately, this category is less common. Second category is black women being unalived by white men in these relationships. Most of these occurrences happen when they are in a long-term relationship, that and or married. When they want to leave that relationship, that man snaps and ends up unaliving this black woman. But that's not the only scenario. There are multiple occasions where black women are in the prime of dating this white man. These white men are not actually trying to date them. They're setting them up to be unalived. Meaning some black women are purposely being set up for execution. This is a good chunk of the category. The other category is a white man who finds a black woman attractive but still compare black stereotypes to black women, which is exactly the pictures I showed you in the beginning of the video. Bananas, cotton, basketballs, Kentucky Fried Chicken. I'm surprised this guy didn't have a watermelon on him. He might as well go 100%. These type of white men, I like to call them closeted racists. A lot of these closeted racist white men will definitely go out of the way to date a black woman just to prove to themselves that they are not racist. This is also another good chunk of this category. For a perspective in a pie category, I say this is about 65 to 35%. As you can tell by these margins, this shit is wicked. Like, this is horrendous. Black women, please be careful when you are dating outside your race, especially when it comes to dating a white man. History is incredibly vital. There has been multiple occasions where white men has used black women for all sorts of ways, from breeding to raping to using black husbands as bait. Throughout history, black women was also set up multiple times by white men and white women to be eliminated. Just because we are in the 21st century of 2025 does not mean this shit is not happening anymore. Stay woke, stay vigilant, and protect yourself. This is Onyx, and I'm gone.
No Child Left Behind. That's rich. Because if there were ever a policy more ironically named, it's that one. They called it education reform, but what they really meant was, let's slap a test on every desk, call it equity, and pretend we fixed centuries of systemic failure. It was never about helping kids. It was about measuring who could be blamed the fastest. Let's be clear. No Child Left Behind was signed in 2002 by George W. Bush, a man whose entire presidency was a group project graded on a curve, and it promised to hold schools accountable. But who did it really hold accountable? Poor kids, black kids, brown kids, disabled kids, ESL kids. The same kids the system's been leaving behind since the textbook said that slavery was a lifestyle. No Child Left Behind didn't fund schools. It didn't fix overcrowding. It didn't provide mental health support or make teachers' salaries livable. It gave us testing. Lots of it. Because apparently nothing screams equal opportunity like traumatizing a 9-year-old with bubble sheets. And if your school didn't meet the fantasy benchmarks, defunded, closed, shamed. All while calling it improvement. Meanwhile, the real winners? Testing companies, policy consultants, and corporate education reformers. Those are the people that made millions selling Scantrons and Panic, while teachers burned out and students were told they were failures, all because they didn't test well under a system that wasn't built for them in the first place. Let's not forget the best part. If schools failed too many times under No Child Left Behind, they lost funding. You're drowning. And their solution was to cut the life jacket in half and tell you to try harder. No Child Left Behind left thousands behind. And not by accident, by design. And it was never about the kids, right? It was about numbers, optics, and control. They tested kids into submission, punished teachers into silence, and used the language of justice to justify educational apartheid. So, No Child Left Behind? It was a warning label. And if you survived it, you didn't get educated. You escaped.
This is the 4th or 5th time I've tried to record this video. Y'all give me 2 minutes because I gotta tell y'all something important. I made a video about this before, but I felt compelled to make a video again. If you go to the gym and you have health insurance, listen up. If you go to the gym and you're spending $30, $40, $50, $60 a month to go to one gym and you have health insurance, log into your health insurance's website, look under like other or additional benefits and see if they have this benefit where you can sign up, pay for a membership through the insurance company, and then you can go to multiple gyms. So for instance, I was paying Crunch like over $30 a month just to be able to go to Crunch. When I discovered this benefit on my insurance's website, I signed up. They gave me a member ID. I took the member ID to Crunch. They switched my account from self-pay to insurance pay. And then I went over to Planet Fitness, gave them the same member ID, and they gave me a Black Card membership. And so a lot of people's insurance companies have this benefit. For some reason, it's not something that they advertise. It's not something they promote. But to me, they should. Right? So just check it for yourself. Check your insurance company, see if they have this membership. Also keep this in mind. You will be able to search on the website to see which gyms are a part of this program, because all gyms are either not a part of the program, or in order to access that gym, you have to go up a level. I'm not doing that. I'm paying $30 a month. Okay. So search it out, check it for yourself. Every insurance company, I'm not saying every insurance company has the benefit. I'm saying search to see if yours do. I told my brother about it. He searched and his insurance company had the same benefit. So my brother went and signed up through his insurance company, and now he can go to Crunch and Planet Fitness with me. So check it out. And if you check it out and y'all do have the benefit, come back into the comments and let me know. Y'all have a blessed and prosperous day. God bless you. Get healthy.